As I said yesterday, I was born in Canada and I was educated in the United States, and then I moved back to Canada as an adult. Until I was an adult, came back to Canada and had a discussion with somebody that made me aware, a World War II veteran. And then I finally got the truth. And then after that, I started looking into it. So, World War II. Did you know World War II Canadians were already fighting in World War II, had joined the Europe fighting against the Nazis 2 years before the United States did? I didn't, until a World War II veteran showed me, because I was never taught that in American schools. Did you know that Canada, I mean, you can go 5,000 miles and you're still crossing Canada. Canada is huge. But yet, Americans think that Canada's all snow, when in fact, no. We've got palm trees and all that. It's just that when I was raised in America, I went to school in America, all we were taught is it was all snow and igloos and all that shit. Yeah, if you go way the fuck up north, way thousands of miles away. And of course, you're shown a map in every schoolroom. There's a map, and they show you that map is all nice colors, and it shows you America, and it always shows you America as the biggest country on the map, when in fact we're 2 or 3 times the size of Canada. I don't know, maybe, or at least or way bigger. Not going to get technical. And like I said in my last video, my climate is that of the Middies of Michigan, no different, or Indiana, depending on how bad the winters get. But if you go up north, there is snow, similar to Minnesota. And because we're so large, if you go farther than that, then you've got freaking polar bears in Alaska and all that shit. We have everything from igloos, Eskimos, climates. Where I live in Ontario, like I said, it's no different than the Michigan area. And then if you go out west, it's similar to Oregon, Washington, Oregon. There's palm trees, and it's very Hawaiian, tropical Hawaiian looking. But I was taught in school in America. I left America as a young adult, and I believe that, Canada was nothing but snow. So when you're born, the first people that have control of your education are your parents. And the second, which is a big, powerful one, is the school systems. Because what you're taught in those school systems, your education, you have a tendency to believe the rest of your life, unless you go above and beyond. And not well, not all my life, but when I was young, and that I need to maybe look some shit up, get a better idea of what the truth is versus propaganda. So back in the, I don't know, 40s or whatever, we had prison camps where we held German officers, one in particular. These weren't just your average German soldiers. These were all officers. They were submarine commanders. They were up there. And of course, their education, they believed that Canada and United States was bombed to shit. We were all living in rubble over here. Um, you know, just stuff to disparage our two countries in order to make theirs feel more powerful. And these guys believe this shit, even though they were intelligent people. They were educated, indoctrined, and 100% believed the shit that they were saying. So, one of those prison camps was built in not a long way from me, but it was set out somewhere in a way away from people. Actually, that's all I really know for sure I can remember. And what they did is these officers were hard nosed, and you couldn't tell them nothing. So they took an old vehicle and took them for a ride, and then showed them Niagara Falls. And on that ride, they learned that during World War II, we weren't living over here on rubble. According to, doesn't it sound familiar? Trump going, oh, they were bombing the shit out of them. They're living in rubble. It's horrible over there. That's exactly what Germany, the propaganda Germany was believing during World War II. Trump's using the same damn thing. He gets on TV, starts yelling, Iran's living in rubble, and we're going to bomb the shit out of them. And that's not true. And there's, you know, lots of stories that, lots of talk that Trump likes to put out about that. That's exactly what Hitler did. That is exactly what Hitler did. When in fact, we were all living over here just fine. Now we were rationed, but there was not, our countries weren't blown up. You all know that. But 100% the people of Germany believe that. So they made it a point to take these officers to Niagara Falls of all places and showed them it like a day trip. And these guys couldn't, their head couldn't match up what was going on, what they believed. They thought, I laughed when he told me this. They thought it was a movie set, and that the rainbow was electric. It was made by electricity, and part of it was background was a painted set, and they wanted to know where the pumps were that were pumping all the water over the falls. Even though anybody who's ever been to the United States, or sorry, United Niagara Falls, knows damn well that it's not a movie set. But here, these intelligent, highly decorated German men could not face reality. And there's a lot of that going on in the United States right now. It's the same as what is going on too with First Nations people or Native people. What you were taught about them in school versus what they really are, and what reserves are like. Because they only show you pictures when you're in school of, the poorest of the poorest. And there's just as many poor in different cultures. Every country has their poor, every country has, but they attach, First Nations to that. And when you're taught that in high school, or sorry, grade school, and then you go through the whole Thanksgiving thing, believing that it was all wonderful, that First Nations people helped the Pilgrims. Fuck no, that's not what it was like at all. Because they were just so kind and wonderful. No, they were just wanting to get along. And America and Canada needs to face the fact that we were indoctrinated as children in schools, our school systems, to believe differently. And the ones that by now have not figured it out need to start reading a little bit more. And they feel, and you see it all over the internet, oh, well, this person doesn't look native, or that person looks like this skin color, blue eyes, brown eyes. No, no. And there's going to come a time where we're so mixed that I'm sure the status card thing is going to come to an end. Mine dies with me because of how mixed I am. If I was more like more First Nations than I am, it would have passed on down to my daughters. So anyway, it's got nothing to do with being intelligent. It's got to do with not knowing and being indoctrinated in our school systems at young ages. Like wherever you're sitting right now, if you think about a First Nations person, what comes to your head visually? I guarantee you it's not, what's his name, Mark Wayne, whatever, in Trump's cabinet or whatever the fuck he's the new border czar or whatever. He's First Nations. I guarantee you it's not Bob Canoe, who is a premier here in Canada. It's probably more like a hot looking, black, long haired native guy, or somebody dancing in feathers that comes to your head. And why do you think that is? It's because you were indoctrinated in your education systems. So you can just imagine during World War II what the hell they thought we were living in over here and what we looked like over here. They thought we were, skinny, beat to shit, full of disease. We were living in bombed out communities. That's what they thought of us over in Germany. Because they were taught that. It's the same reason that people get Israelis mixed up with Jews. And that propaganda has served the Israelis big time because United States is paying all their bills. But the only thing Israelis are Israelis who practice the Jewish religion. There's lots of Israelis that are Christians. But you don't see that. And Donald Trump is forever using Hitler's playbook, this propaganda playbook. There's always a boogeyman. There's always a commie or, God, he does so much of it. Oh yeah, Canada has been using United States for a long time. No, we have not. That's all bullshit. All meant to feed to the masses, to separate people, and cause hate and division. And it works, obviously.
We have made